Good day, great day. This is For Another Day podcast. My name is Rick Zapf, and today I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to talk about this journey we call life and what it really means to us. And if we really take the opportunity to slow down enough to examine our own lives, to examine not just what's broken or what isn't working, but also the blessings, also the positives, also those things that stand out to us. So let's dive in today and start looking at this journey. And I call it a journey because when you get to my age, as I'm reaching another milestone, um, it's a chance to really look back, to really assess what's happened. Now, some people like to do this on their birthdays, and other people like to do this on New Year's to set a new path for themselves or some new goals. But here also, you can take time to really look back on a last century, a last decade, a last lifetime, and examine what really life has meant to you. And it can be hard. It can be hard because we go through difficulties, we go through trials, and those negatives we tend to remember most easily. I mean, our brain is programmed that way so that, in essence, we remember the negatives so that we make sure that they don't happen again. But all too often, we get stuck in those negatives. We get worrisome. We gain anxieties because we're worried that what's going to happen here is it's going to happen again. So it gives us a state of inaction. But what we're really looking at is this overall picture where if you can take a step back, you can see growth, you can see potential, you can see change if you put your mind to it. And so, looking at it as a journey, I really want you to pull off on the side of the road here, get out, and really look at what's around in terms of everything from the flowers to the hills approaching to the distance past. Because if we just keep on our busyness and we just keep on in the grind, life is going to blur. Life is going to taste vanilla. And so for yourselves here, I really want to encourage you in this process of growth, because we're looking at growing, at changing, at doing something different. And that's why you're listening. We have to look at these milestones that are here. For myself, in the last 10 years, a huge milestone has been truly treasuring life, truly treasuring what you take for granted so easily. For those of you that don't know, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. In the ICU for 9 days. And it was one of those eye-opening experiences that ended up giving me peace. Peace of mind to know that God had this ultimate plan for me through all of this. And that's where you might question. You might question, what is the journey? What is God's plan? And I knew that I was supposed to come back to be able to help people, to be able to make a difference in their lives. I always had as a marriage and family therapist, as a coach, to really make differences, to really put yourself in that position. But this was a different fervor that came about. It was one that it was humbling. It was humbling having to truly go through the experience of learning to rewalk, learning to rely on my spouse to wash my hair, to really look at, I took so much for granted. And so here, it's like, I really want to get out of the car often and look at the flowers, to recognize the littlest of things, because we take those for granted. We go sailing past at 60 miles per hour and you can't pay attention to those. It's a blur. Oftentimes they recommend morning journaling time to really set the pace for the day. This never really worked well for me. It just hasn't. But it's like, what sets the pace for you to really, in essence, slow down? I love learning new things, learning new skills, learning new talents, learning how to do this. I mean, it's not like I've paid for $1,000 course that says this is how you do a podcast and this is how you market and this is how. It's just by attrition, by watching, by listening, by trying to gain a knowledge base. So for me, that morning time has always been about trying to learn something different, and not just like scroll through the shorts and the TikToks and to be entertained, but to really try to gain some sort of knowledge from another person. And that's what I'm hoping here through this podcast. It's like, can you gain some sort of knowledge that you didn't have before in order to make change for yourself to improve your life going forward? It's possible. But that means you are putting forth the effort. It's not anything I'm doing. You're just listening to my voice. But it's truly about you making choices here for yourself. Just like I had to make choices of, I'm going to get out of the bed with the walker and take my steps today. Yeah, it was that basic. And after twice around the living room and being exhausted, going and laying back down. It was about gaining knowledge of what it's like with pain medication, because I wasn't one for taking pain medication, not even an Advil or a Tylenol. But here, when your body craves it, when your body shakes for it because it hasn't gotten it, it's an eye-opening experience. One that I sure questioned, because after a certain point I was like, nope, I'm not staying on this whatsoever, because I don't like the feeling. I can't function in the feeling. And so it's that improvement factor. But to think I would do 9 days in the ICU without pain medication, with brain surgery, no. Yeah. And so you look back and it's like, so what was God's plan in all this? I think it humbles us. It makes us examine what our motives are and where we're going with things. It makes us try to expand our minds, even though they're self limited at the time. And so for yourselves, what is that self limiting factor? What is it that is the crutch, is the hindrance, is the speed bump in your life? Is it a relationship that isn't going well? Is it your own feelings of inadequacy, anxieties, depressions, sadness, pain? Because those, if you work at it, resolve and change. It's a mindset. Now, I'm just not saying you wish it away or you pray it away and it's all good. It takes work. It takes work to reprogram sometimes your brain to those ants, as they call it, the automatic negative thoughts that pop up. But what types of tapes do you put in mind that can counter those ants, can counter those negative thoughts that sometimes control us, that sometimes hinder us, that sometimes cause us so much pain? The thing is our life isn't one without pain. And it isn't one without growth. And it isn't one without love. But we have to actively search, resolve those feelings that are in ourselves, those feelings that are limiting to us, those feelings that can change us for the worst. All too often, I've had clients when I've done counseling before where they're just stuck in sadness, in grief, in depressions, in fears, and in anxieties. And getting them to unbelieve those is a huge task. But if you can chip away at those, which can often happen in counseling, chip away at those disbeliefs, chip away at where their struggles are, and you start looking from the glass half full instead of half empty, it can help. Now, it might take a therapist or a counselor to really switch it to look at the half full parts when you've been stuck in the half empty so far. That's okay. That's what their expertise is. But if you can pull it within yourself, that I can at least agree, not necessarily with it half empty, but there is just water in the glass. That right there for yourself is a huge amount of change. You're able to recognize what the water is and represents, the smallest gains, the smallest possibilities, the smallest amounts of change, the good stuff, the stuff that quenches you, the stuff that keeps you going. Without water, you're not going to function in life. And so, here for yourself, I really want to encourage you in this journey, as you look at it, look at the positives, the smallest amount of positives. Look what it can give to you when you're able to recognize it. Because life gives it in the smallest of ways. I could tie my shoes again. What? That's like ridiculous, Rick. Why would you even say that? Because I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't touch my toes. I couldn't walk to the bathroom. I couldn't stand and brush my teeth. All those things just taken for granted. But when I was able to recognize them, today I was able to brush my teeth standing up. Yes, I was having to lean on the counter, but I was standing up. Today I was able to walk to the end of the driveway. Yes, with a cane, but I was able to walk to the end of the driveway. Just this last month, I went hiking in Colorado. 6-mile hike up at, 8,000 feet. Huge acknowledgement for what that means to me 2 years later. To really be able to say, if you work at it, if you work at changing that mindset, instead of I can't, can it at least be a yearning, I want to. I didn't do a 6-mile prep hike. I didn't do a 10-mile prep hike. I only did a 2-mile walk in the morning. And I felt confident within that to take a leap of faith, to take a step out, to make that a goal. So as you step out and you're assessing your surroundings, I want to encourage you. Do you need to start setting some different goals to get you down the road? Do they really need a changed path? Do they really need something that inspires you, educates you, gives you peace? What are you looking for? Because when it comes to that search, that can also give you the drive that you need. And if you can break it down into the smallest of small pieces, to walking to the end of the driveway, to walking 2 miles in the morning, to walking 2 miles 3 times a week, to walking 6 miles. You see, break those down into smaller and smaller pieces. Ones where you can show growth, you can show potential, you can show even stability in that process. You can do it. That's what coaching is about. It's about being there with the pom-poms and cheering you on. It's about finding those things within you where you want to achieve, but you just haven't figured out how to yet. Very doable with a little bit of guidance. Very satisfying with a little bit of guidance. But in this process, in this journey, I hope you give yourself a little bit of love and grace in the process. Because there are going to be days when it's not going to work for you. There are going to be days when you're going to struggle. There are going to be days when you're like, I don't want to go for a 2-mile walk this morning. And those I don't want tos, rather than pulling you down, can boost you up. When you really truly take a look at them, it's like, I want to be able to. I don't want to go the whole week and say, I didn't do it at all. I don't want to do this. Instead, it's about this slow momentum that can build. So here, I'm encouraging you. I'm wanting you. Get out of your car and take a look around. Assess where you're at. Assess where some of these milestones or these goals need to be marked for achievement, to attain them, but also lived. Because in getting in those small steps along the way, when you break it down, those all need to be recognized. It's just not about the end journey, the end destination. I want you to look at it all. I want you to examine it all. I want you to love it all, even the negatives. Because it's giving you something. It's giving you something of change. And that change has great things in store. Because there is a plan. So, what do I have in store? Looking at this 2 years later, I'm looking at getting fully back in the game. Looking at private practices and coaching programs and products and services and partnerships and collaboratives. I want to dream big. I want to dream dreams that people are like, wow, that would be amazing. I want to dream dreams where people are inspired to be able to say, I want to do that. I really want to do that. So much so, I want to mark it on my calendar and take out time out of my schedule because of what he has to offer. It could be amazing. So, hear for yourselves going forward. I want you to sit down today, or even right now, and start examining your life. Start looking around and start making a choice of change. If you need help, just ask. If you need encouragement, just ask. It's okay to ask. It's okay to need help. That's what I'm here for. With that being said, God love you all and have a wonderful week.